Hey, it's Amy Shaw, and I wanted to make another video today. I realized, I have been doing this a little while, but since I changed my channel over from talking about writing and writing topics and started talking about shamanism, I realized I really have not done a video talking yet about soul loss. Which is a really important thing because soul loss is a big part of shamanic practice. It's very, very common. Almost everybody has experienced soul loss. If you want a good experience of what soul loss can look like, Katy Perry just last week uploaded a video on her channel, and it's a session that she actually does with a therapist. I'm not going to say much more about it, but if you can endure the entire hour-long video of watching her session with this therapist, she shares several different points within that session that can be definitely assessed as soul loss. She's definitely experienced soul loss. So the first question people might ask about soul loss, is what is a soul? So the soul is sort of the aspect of yourself. We're multi-layered beings. We have actually several sort of bodies to our being. And the soul body, our soul self, is actually the self that carries our memories. And so if something traumatic happens, we can actually split off, and the part of ourselves in that moment of time that experienced that trauma can actually go somewhere else. And it leaves. And so it's not, the memories don't necessarily have to leave. The memory can still be intact, but the emotional imprinting, the trauma of the memory leaves and goes with that soul self. Part of the mechanism of that is obviously self-protection, because we have to be able to function in life, and maybe the trauma is just too great at that period in time for the person to have the ability to work through it. So the soul can split off and it can go somewhere else, sort of into the astral realm. Part of shamanic practice is to be able to go into the astral realm, or probably likely the middle world, and sort of retrieve that aspect of the soul. Now, when that aspect is retrieved and it actually comes back to that person, it comes back with all that imprinting, the trauma and the memories. And so there has to be preparation sometimes around that before the actual soul retrieval, and also after, as the soul piece is integrating back in. The person has to really be ready and willing to deal with the trauma if trauma is the reason that soul aspect is gone. Another possible reason for soul loss is that people get into relationships and they have poor boundaries. And so because they have this sort of core wounding and this neediness, they actually give over a piece of their soul to another person. And if the relationship breaks up, that person can actually take that piece with them. Sometimes it's, completely unconscious. They don't even know it's happening. And other times it's it could still be unconscious, but it comes from that sense of, oh, I don't want to give it back. It's every situation is really different. But a really good example of that type of soul loss is Aurora has a song. It's called I Went Too Far. And so that song is exactly about that. It's about soul loss through a relationship. And so, that can come through attachment. You can grow up in a house, as a child and then have to later move away from that house, and you can have soul loss over that. Your memories are there, your experiences are there, and so you grow an attachment to the house, and then that attachment, that aspect, when you move away physically, it remains with the house, and so you sort of split off and can have soul loss. So we can have it over material objects, we can have it over relationships, we can have it over trauma. It's incredibly common. A couple weeks ago when I was at the metaphysical fair, I spoke with an individual that came by my table, and he was talking about, his dad suddenly passed away unexpectedly when he was 12. And, this man is in his late 30s, and he's still tearing up talking about it. And it became very evident that he has had some soul loss around his dad passing away. So it's likely that his dad actually has, that soul essence, his dad has it with him, in the afterlife. And so part of soul retrieval would be to go in there and get that back, bring that piece back from the father and give it back, to the son. And it's not always, it's not like, the spirits are maliciously holding on. I mean, sometimes that is the case. Like they're holding on and it's not malicious. They just don't want to give it back, and it has to be sort of coaxed back from them, but sometimes it's not even that. I mean, sometimes they don't even realize that they're holding it, and and then it's just they freely give it back because it's like, oh wow, okay, yeah, I didn't even realize, So I mean, again, every situation is so unique, and it's hard to, talk about all the different situations. I mean, the more that you're in shamanic practice, the more and more situations that you encounter, and each one is different. Definitely my knowledge and experience is growing, as it should, and will continue to grow. But that's basically soul loss in a nutshell, and that's soul retrieval in a nutshell. Along with retrieval comes extraction, and a lot of the other shamanic processes. Soul loss it's a really big thing in our culture, and we're sort of programmed to do it in a sense, and it can really affect us. I mean, we can lose aspects of ourselves, aspects of our personality, maybe the more passionate side of ourselves, or the creative side of ourselves, or the childlike part of ourselves, our innocence, or, our ability to play, or, maybe at one point, you could have been like a really good musician, and that aspect sort of went somewhere, and, you haven't played an instrument in 20 years. And so, these are all aspects of soul loss and soul retrieval. So anyway, I'm probably going to think of a million more things that I could say about this, but for right now, I just wanted to give you a nutshell of what that is, what it might look like as a core shamanic practice. And if you have any questions, comments, as always, you know where to get a hold of me. So have a great day. Thanks.